Give a few people some time to flutter into this space. Yeah, it's been a long day. I've been up since about 5:20. Had a very straighten your back up kind of dream of get right, get right, get right. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. If you've had a get right with yourself kind of dream, you know what I'm talking about. But I periodically have cataclysmic, apocalyptic dreams, and these are all warnings right now. But anyway, I've been up since early. I use that as my impetus to rise on up and get into my getting on and getting it done-ness of the day. So today or this evening, in between a multiplicity of calls, I've had many talks today, some of which I've led, many of which I've simply been a participant of. However, been giving a lot of energy out today. And I wanted to talk about cycles. I wanted to take a moment to come in pieces. I wanted to come in and have a conversation with you all about cycles and relationships to cycles. So, here we are at point whatever it is. For the sake of this, we'll call it A. We're at point A. Now, A could absolutely be point, 475, but I'm just for the sake of today's talk, we're going to say we're at point A. And in point A can seem like it's just a thing. It's not connected to anything else. And then tomorrow you'll wake up, and depending upon how you look at it, you might still be at point A when you wake up and look at it, right? However, we can expand our view. And as we expand out our view, we can realize that we've had many points. And those points can look very different or can give us different information when we look at different cycles. So when we take who we are and put it up against the cycle of a life, meaning, childhood, teenage, young adult, mature adult, young elder, someone on their way out kind of cycle. We can look at it from 7-year cycles. We can look at it all on these continuums that deal with us, or we can look at it in cycles of humanity or cycles of nature. So I want to talk with you about the cycle of nature. I tend to operate in relationship to the lunar calendar and the solar calendar. And I've been doing that since, I've been doing it for a while. Over 20 years of relating self with the lunar and solar calendar. If you don't know what I mean, I want to be clear, because many of you will know, but some of you might be like, what is she talking about, the lunar and the solar calendar? And as soon as I say, you'll know what I mean. So the lunar calendar, meaning the 4 phases of the moon, from new to waxing givers to full to waning givers to new again, and how that repeats about 13 times a year. That is the lunar cycle. And it goes at a slow pace like this, right? Some of us don't even know that now the bigger cycle, the solar cycle has like 2. There are 2 in the solar cycle, which are the night day, which is what we're used to, night day. And that goes like this. Night day. And the the lunar cycle is full moon, new moon, full moon, new moon. Now the bigger cycle that I'm looking at, and it can get bigger, but we want to keep this simple, is, and you know what it is, summer, summer, fall, winter, spring. Summer, fall, winter, spring. You see this? All of them taking us between amount of light we receive, and amount of darkness we receive. It's just a cycle. When you can begin to see yourself inside of those cycles of light and dark, be they the rapid one of our 24-hour day, the medium one of our new moon, full moon, or our longer stretch of the summer, winter. And creating or recognizing that relationship can really help us to begin to understand how to prepare for life well lived. Prepare for life well lived. Living here in the West, it's very easy to lose connection to the cycles. Living here in the West, or in modernized society, where you can have lights all night long at any time, there's no relationship to the moon because, well, I just turn on the lights when it gets dark and it's the same. You know, having a relationship to the nighttime light, we don't pay it much mind because of the same thing. You know, we don't pay the night mind because of the relationship between our lights never shifting, which actually impacts those of us with the feminine form who menstruate. It actually affects when we cycle. At some point, you know, our body's related to that particular planetary body, the moon. There is understanding that when we had natural light, our menstrual cycles were regulated not only by each other, but also by the moon. So that's a cycle that many of us are out of. If you take menstrual pills, if you eat hormone-rich food, you know, without thought, if you eat, you know, processed foods, if you're operating with a lot of lights that are in stress, this go of our society, it can take you out of that rhythm, which can also take you out of your natural cycles again. And then that bigger cycle of getting things done, the solar cycle, we get out of relationship to it because normally, especially the further north you go or south you go, there will be a relationship to slowing down when the cold comes, slowing down when the winter comes. People don't slow down. Slow down for what? Slow down for what? In fact, we find a way that it becomes an inconvenience to our productivity of keeping on going, barreling through at all costs. So our relationships to cycles has been highly impacted by our Western society. For those who walk and follow some of the things that I bring, when I was about 28, I had a download. I didn't know that's what they called it, but literally it was a download. And I sat at my computer at that time, and I typed all of this understanding about light, those people who were light, the ancestors as the trail people who carried the light forward for us, the hearth keepers, the nature work, everyone based on different roles in society, and understanding our relationship to the cycles. And this idea, or a movement formulated in my spirit, it's when I started the Red Moon Lodge. It's not long after that I began doing more work to keep the solar calendar already, you know, with health and things like that. And that movement was called ROAR, to restore our ancient rhythms. So Why am I sharing this with you today? As many of us are moving through, I have come to terms with how I stay on time is by being in deep connection to how I'm feeling. And oftentimes, with those people who may be skewed to the left or skewed to the right, there's usually a synchronicity on what's coming through me with those who find me whenever they find me. There's a synchronicity in that space. So I share from that space and trusting that those who need it will find it whenever they find it, and it will be exactly what they need when they do. We are entering into the fall. And the fall is a very vital season for health. Inside of each of our larger solar curves, our larger solar segments, be that, we call them seasons, but think of it as a segment of time. Peace and blessings, sister. Consider it a segment as well as a season. So during that 90 or so day segment that makes up our full year, the fall is a very important transition for us, especially for those of us who live in the West. It's still as equally important for those who live in the Southern Hemisphere, but it's going to be for a different reason because they're moving into their summer, while we are moving into our winter, the dark of our year. So I bring this to you because this is a time to take inventory of what you've accomplished with your winter planning, your winter preparation, your spring seeding, and your summer harvesting to be where you are now. To see what you need to cultivate or call out from that harvest to take into the dark of the winter with you, to incubate in what would be our season of stillness. Many of us make our new year intention at the new year, and we've already missed the darkest, deepest, richest, fertile soil, a fertile period of our cycle, of our solar cycle. And that is the winter solstice. During that period of the sun being still, it is the richest, most fertile time to seed your subconscious mind. So as we're talking about relationship to cycles, I'm here to begin bringing this to your consciousness, your awareness, so that you can join me and others around the world who do have this knowledge, and practice these tools and these techniques as a way to get inside of the cycle. So it's sort of like someone dancing, but they can't hit the one, or someone singing, and it's just a little flatter, a little sharp, or someone rapping, and they just can't hit that beat. You're like, oh, they're rapping all over the beat, but I can't get them to hit it, or they're not even creating a new one. It's not even syncopated. That's what happens when we don't understand the cycles or the rhythm of our universe. Everything has an ebb and flow. Ebb and flow. Just like if you were with me and you listened to me and you're with me, if you're with me, throw me a couple of throw me some, my girl put this out there, throw me some exclamation points in the comments. Throw me some exclamation points. She put me down on that. I like sunflowers, but you got to do extra work to give me sunflowers. So if you want to do extra work to throw me some suns or some sunflowers, cool. But I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath in and then breathe it out. And when you breathe in again, hold it. And in the holding of that breath that you yearn for, at a certain point, you're going to need to release it so that you can breathe it in again. As simple as that. I love y'all. As simple as that. Inhale and exhale is the back and forth dance we have with life of calling in and letting go, and calling in and letting go. And having a relationship to knowing, it's time to let it go. Just like the trees. The trees actually drop the leaves. If you've ever seen a branch of a tree that happened to come down, I've seen it, so I know it to be so. A branch off of a tree that is going through its winter shedding, those leaves stay attached until they get dry and brittle, and then you can crunch them off, but they don't just fall off. The tree branches actually release those leaves because it's going to send all of its resources into its roots to get fed from the dark, rich earth during that cycle. And so now it's getting energies from the sun, but everything, all of its nutrients, where nutrients came from the sun before, are coming up through its roots. At least that's my understanding, without having to be, someone who studies trees. But I've witnessed and I understand that the trees drop their leaves. The leaves don't just fall. The tree branches drop them. It releases them. So once we begin understanding these cycles, then we begin to understand, so what does this mean for me? What does this mean for me to understand this? So I got my day, my night, okay? So I got my sun, my lunar cycle. So now I got my solar cycle. What does this mean? Thank you, Shantae. That's interesting that you went to school. So, okay. So let's stand right now in what I'm sharing with you around. And a lot of this is just, I want you to understand something. Much of this is not rocket science. Much of this is good sense for the observer, for the witnesser, for the person who can sit and stare and record with faith that they understand what they're seeing, or can have conversations with others, say, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm witnessing. And then they can be confirmed or denied. That's science. That is science, to confirm or deny what you witness. We live outside of that, and that we have to ask permission, and our science is always changing based on who funded the study. That's how it works for us. This is why we get all confused, because it's all about somebody's predatory nature and wanting to get their needs met and not recognizing the impact on the whole. So we get skewed and we get off time. When we can cycle into that day, that lunar, that larger solar calendar, we can get on time. Because all the trees don't turn colors at the same time. You ain't got to do it at the same time. You just got to be you want to be in the number though. You want to be in the number of that transition. And the number of receiving what you need. And the number of feeling something shifting. So right now, fall, I want you to develop a relationship with everything that the fall has to talk about. Transition, shedding, culling what's necessary. Think about what farmers do during this time as they're preparing for the winter. This is what I want you to think about. I want you to pull these things up. And I also would encourage you to give as much attention as possible to your victories, your celebrations, the things that you are thankful for. Lift up your praises. There's the first harvest celebrations and there's the last harvest celebrations. And you want to give thanks for everything you're going to use to carry you into the winter. So that when the winter solstice begins approaching, as it starts getting colder, as we start witnessing our seasons shifting, we can talk more about the magic and the powerfully potent period of time that is winter solstice. Many people wonder, like they try to dismiss it as pagan. It's science. It's absolutely just simply understanding energetics, who we are. I learned this stuff from studying the Kemetic traditions, and I've learned these. And like I said, this download showed up in my late 20s. I was like, what is this? And I just wrote, and now I understand, right? So it's important to me to bring to you all what you need to know or what I can share, because I think many of you want to know. I'm coming to terms with the fact that I don't have to be dismissive of my voice, that it's important that I use it in this day more than ever. A person's a person, no matter how small. So I'm not going to trip on how I think I'm just me and bring this through. Oh, the science of the celestial bodies around us is everything, right? But we've been scared away from it. It's been made taboo for us, while others are operating in everything they do around it. Wonder why Easter changes every year? Wonder why Easter changes every year? It's science and celestial. Has nothing to do with the fact that he rose on a different day, So when we go into this, we're right at this. We're right in the right place. We're all here together, and I love y'all so much for being here with me. Relationship to these cycles helps us to begin to crack the code of how to live inside of cycles. Because when we learn how to live inside of cycles, we open the door to our abundance. We change our eyes. I've had a friend share with me something about, we live in a society that does not like children often, because children are work. And because we've been detached from reality, we haven't even witnessed it. Many people are not even attached to the fact of how different children have become. They were born for today. Life and nature longing for itself. And consumerism, don't even talk about that's a whole other, because everything has been commodified. It's more important how you look than how you feel. It's more important how you look than how you feel if you operate based on the predilections of our current society. How you look is way more important to many people than how they feel. They don't want to know how you feel, but you look good, girl. Yeah, I look good, though. Mm-hmm. Melting on the inside, crying. Don't get me wrong. Looking good is important. Looking good is important, but it's not. It's as equally important that it come from the inside out. That it's coming from a place of truth, not a place of glamour. We don't want to just glamour it up. So I was speaking about children and our self-only society, and how our self-only society has created a space where people are mad at parents and mad at children for inconveniencing them. And they have no relationship to the fact that not that long ago they were in the spring of their life. In the winter coming into spring of their life, a new life that was just born. A new seedling that needed the room to grow and become. Each and every one of us has to go through being a child, a baby, a toddler, a young child, an older child, a teenager, a young adult, before we even get to the place to be able to make certain decisions and things. Each and every one of us. But we live in a society that, does not support that, does not support putting our best into that space. And if we're fortunate, we'll live a long time and have things to share, not just be older in years, but older in wisdom, with some good stuff to bring to people, right? Some wisdom to share with the people, right? But we live in a society that does not value those ends. The only thing it values is getting the young ones to be consumers and keeping the workers as consuming as possible. Tying up all of their time so they can't observe, think, and feel, and maybe do something different. And by the time they wake up to the game, they fed into the game so long. They wake up to it, but they fed into it. They're trying to stop a tide. This is what we're working through. But I absolutely know that enough of us are holding it true because we're recognizing the cycle. These cycles play out over and over and over again. And the first part of creating a relationship to the cycle is observing them, becoming aware of them. So pay attention to your sunrise and your sunset. Look up at the sky at night. See where the moon is. See where the moon is. Check out where she be. Know what's happening. Oh, that's right. It's the full moon. Okay. It's the new moon. Okay. Oh, I get that confused. It's okay. If you get it confused before you get it right, you're on it. You're more aware. In fact, remember when you were a child and we would start learning things? It was easy to get things mixed up and be like, I forgot, I didn't get it right. But we want our children to be perfect. That's the glamour and the illusion. Perfection. Keep it looking good. All destroyed on the inside. So pay attention to these cycles so that it can open you up to recognizing the deeper cycles. And then as you start recognizing those deeper cycles, be that a cycle within your family, you can begin, we're designed to look at patterns. That's how trends get set. That's how we can kind of predict certain behaviors. We can predict certain things. However, we also get to co-create them because, as I've said before, this now moment, nothing exists outside this moment. Now, okay, that one's on. Now it's this moment. Okay, that one's gone. Now it's this moment. And I can do that all day long. However, I can also choose what I want to be in this moment, which is to flow in this conversation that we are co-creating here. And so as I'm choosing to flow in it, it's with the consciousness of all the constraints. I'm looking at the time. I have another call. I have to finish doing this dinner preparation that we're doing. I look at all these things. So I'm in it for the day. I'm in it for the lunar. I know that the full moon is going to be on October 1st. So I'm also knowing that things are expanding and getting bigger and brighter and illuminating in my life inside of my subconscious emotional mind. What do I need to be thinking about? What's happening in my feelings as I'm journeying through each of these days that are helping me to understand the moon that we're in, right? Then I look at the bigger one. And it's fall, and it's autumn. And because this is the conversations that I have or that feed me, I'm often in spaces with others who talk about this. So in one of my cycles, I'm in a circle around abundance. And in that circle around abundance, I was talking to someone and we spoke about, they brought it in, flexibility, patience, faith, trust. I was like, oh, this is some powerfulness to be bringing up in terms of the conversation for us moving into the fall, as well as I said, to really, really, really grab the seeds of the good stuff, the wine, the dessert, the richness, the things that are going to make my life feel better as I move into this new season. So I can keep those to keep feeding me until I move into the spring where things get a little easier. So I hope that this conversation was helpful for you as we speak about cycles and relationship to them, so that we can be aware that it's not just the cycle that's been imposed on us, right? It's not just a school cycle that they threw on top of our heads, or our job schedules that we're feeling committed to having to go through and do. It is the cycles that we are all collectively experiencing. And just so that you know, October will have 2 full moons on October 1st and on October 31st, Halloween. And here's the very interesting thing. Many times when the moon changes, it's not always seen across the world. Like some places it might happen, at night on one day on our side and the next day on the other side, depending upon when it happens. Well, this year's Halloween full moon will be on October 31st, that night, for the whole globe. Everyone is going to go through that full moon, October 31st. The full moon in Taurus. I already know what it is, right? So the full moon in Taurus. If you are interested, I'm going to be holding a sacred space on Thursday, October 1st. It's in the evening. It's kind of late because I have another commitment that same night, so I have to do it after. But we'll be having a conversation, lunar activation. I'll be talking about Mayan energy frequencies. That's a whole other thing. I know. I'm always bringing up something new, extra. But join me. But I'm grateful to have the chance to share with you about cycles. And I want to take a special moment to shout you out, Bonnie, and tell you thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You have no clue how on time, and I thank you. So, everybody, I love y'all. I'm so grateful that I could speak to you, Keita. It means very much to me. I witness you. I watch you. I honor you. I really do. You're important to me. You've been important to me since, for a long time. How about that? I won't even tell both of our age. You've been important to me for a long time. All right. So blessings, everybody. And until the next time. All right. Peace and blessings.